Hello, everyone. My name is Lou-Shiuan Chou. I also go by Angela. I'm so happy to be given the opportunity to speak about my current research on bilingualism. I'm currently studying psychology at International Christian University, and this photo is of me in my first year in my campus on the day of the matriculation ceremony. I haven't been to campus in a while, and I really do miss in-person classes as well. I'm currently a fourth-year student and a partial graduate school student, and I'm currently researching about bilingual language processing and cognition. So for my research, I'm studying the influence of L1 on L2 collocational processing in balanced and dominant bilingual speakers of Japanese and English. There are a handful of terms that need to be identified and concepts that need to be clarified for you to get a clear understanding of what I am researching. But in simple terms, I'm studying the influence of the stronger language on the weaker language of bilingual speakers and understanding something that cannot be explained by grammatical rules. I'm studying bilingual speakers of Japanese as their native language and English as their second language. And I want to understand how two languages play out when they are given such examples like this. So the first English phrase you see here and the second English phrase you see here are just examples of test stimulus I would give in my experiment. But the first one, call a taxi. So as an English native speaker, I would say this is a correct English phrase. And also as a Japanese speaker, I would say taxi o yobu is correct. And Japanese speaker will most likely depend on their Japanese language knowledge to understand whether this English phrase is correct or not. So they'll translate it to taxi o yobu, and they'll probably say, yes, it's correct because yobu, the translation of that is call a taxi, and because it's acceptable in the Japanese language, probably they'll say the same for call a taxi as well. Whereas for example number 2, pick up a taxi. So this is actually an incorrect English phrase, and when you directly translate into Japanese, it's taxi o hirou. So Japanese speakers will first most likely translate it into Japanese, taxi o hirou, and they evaluate whether pick up a taxi is correct based on their understanding of this in Japanese. So hirou means pick up in English. And because it is acceptable in Japanese, they will most likely say that it's acceptable in English as well. But in English, it's incorrect. So I want to study how bilingual speakers in ambiguous cases like this, how they utilize their Japanese and to understand the English language, their second language, and how Japanese will influence their judgment of acceptability of English, which is their second language. So I want to propose a couple of questions for you to think about prior to the day of the webinar. So the first one is, what is the co-relationship between L1, shortened for first language, and L2, short for second language of bilingual speakers? So what is the relationship? Was there a connection between L1 and L2? Number 2 is, what are the features of bilingual speakers? You may refer to like the bilingual speakers, speaking students that you see in classrooms, or bilingual speakers that you encounter in your everyday life. What are some linguistic features that you often encounter, or some learning behaviors that you encounter, or even intelligence? You can compare it to some of your monolingual speakers that you know and identify whether you recognize any features of bilingual speakers. And number 3 is, do you think bilingual speakers think in only one or in both languages? So as a multilingual speaker is very interesting because before I did my research, I didn't even know if all of the languages that I know of, if they even influence one another, if they even relate on any level. So I want you to think about this question. I'd love to hear your input on this. And as the importance of bilingual education is kind of the spotlight in our society nowadays. I hope that this research or my research can give you more of an understanding of kind of the complexity of multilingual, not multilingual, bilingual speakers and what really goes on in a bilingual speaker's brain. I hope this will educate you also about some of the students that you encounter in your day at school. Maybe this will help you to understand how they process their second language, if English is their second language, how they process that, and whether their first language influenced their second language in classroom learning. So I hope to see you on the day of the webinar. I'm really excited to present on something I'm very passionate about. Take care and have a great day and have a great week. See you.